Hello and welcome to Inside AUSA. I'm Sarah Hill of Veterans United Home Loans. The Association of the U.S. Army annual meeting and exposition attracted more than 20,000 people with about 600 exhibitors from around the world. If you missed this year's event in Washington, D.C., you're in luck. Here's a look at the highlight reel, beginning with opening ceremonies.
When America needed trusted professionals to step forward and protect our rights and indeed our very existence, the Army was there.
We have to remain a robust, reliable, and ready force, not some hollowed out shadow of a former self. And when trouble comes, no matter where the challenge, they don't call Beijing, they don't call Moscow, they call us, the United States Army.
The theme of this year's event was Trusted Professionals Today and Tomorrow. And throughout the week, these trusted professionals received recognition from the Best Warrior competition to Drill Sergeants of the Year.
And I would ask you non-commissioned officers that are in here today is to continue to move forward with challenging competition across the breadth and depth of what we do as an Army.
What this competition did was it really tested the total soldier concept. You hear all the time about our character, our competence, and our commitment, and it truly tested those three core competencies.
Just overwhelming because you compete for a year straight and then it's finally over at the very end and you just think about all the hard work you put in.
All of us, as trusted professionals, will carry our Army values back to American society in whatever our future chosen vocation.
My husband was noted for being involved with the education system for our senior enlisted, for all of our Army soldiers. And at his death, there were some civilians that he worked with extensively who wanted to recognize him in some fashion. So they created a scholarship which focuses on a lifetime of training and encouraging soldiers to develop their education. My husband was deeply invested, though, in what became of soldiers once they left the Army, and he knew that the educational aspect of it was extremely important. So for me, it continues to bring him to mind, all the work that he did while he was on active duty, and it makes me very proud of him.
The U.S. Army is celebrating its 239th year. AUSA seeks to educate the world about the U.S. Army, especially in light of recent threats.
With the emerging threats that we see around the world, some of them pretty scary when you think about Ebola, what's going on in the Ukraine, what's going on in Iraq and Syria. This conference gives us an opportunity to think about the Army's role in all of those potential crises.
Civilian leaders have to figure out a way to deal with the defense budget in an organic and holistic fashion and not just give everybody a haircut.
I think many people look at the Army and say, well, it's done it before, it can downsize again, it's relatively easy. You have a lot of experience doing it. As one who did it, I will tell you, this drawdown is much more complex and the world is much more dangerous. And as the chief, in the words of the chief, the velocity of this cascading effect of various crises around the world is making it very difficult to predict the future.
We don't have aircraft carriers. We don't have jet fighters. We have soldiers with boots on the ground, and we need more money to take care of them.
I've been trying to get my photo with you for 5 deployments now.
Let's do it. Right here.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
We have a Warrior of the Workforce hiring event for service members, retirees or whatever, and family members. I think we have about 35 companies that are here, also educating them on how to prepare themselves to get out of the service. Well, networking, resumes, how to transition, who to talk to. And all we're trying to do is put service members and their spouses to work.
And there are great qualified, skilled people in the military who may not know how to apply the skills that they learn in the military to the civilian workforce. Well, we want people to know that there are many opportunities across the manufacturing industry that are available for people that are transitioning from the military.
AUSA doesn't just support families and soldiers on the home front, it also supports them on Capitol Hill.
This is an opportunity the Army uses to tell the Army story. AUSA provides a quality platform onto which the Army can come, Congress, the public, the press, and the defense industry to hear what the Army needs, to hear about the Army futures, and to address the capabilities that we need to move ahead.
What I really enjoy about it is what they stand for. And AUSA is an organization that is there to take care of soldiers and their families. So whenever they have their convention, I want to get up here and see what's on the cutting edge so that I can be a part of that, because soldiers and their families are what's important to me.
We are the big voice on Capitol Hill. We try very, very hard to espouse all the needs of the Army, whether it's pay, housing, benefits, the size of the Army. We go to Capitol Hill and we try to educate the Congress. We are a 501c3 not-for-profit education association.
AUSA started from humble beginnings. The very first president of AUSA was a serving Vice Chief of Staff of the Army. It was created back in 1950 for the sole purpose of ensuring that we had a strong Army, and the things that happened to us in the past would not happen again.
This is still the premier land warfare show, particularly for the U.S. Army.
Association of the United States Army.
We're holding 14 panel discussions on a broad range of issues facing the Army, and those panels include senior leaders from the Army, from industry, from academia.
They're the voice of the soldier, the voice of the Army. They take care of soldiers. They help them with their benefits at the national level. They're not a lobbying group, but they educate. They educate the Congress, the administration, and the community about the mission of the Army.
It's those local employees that are volunteers that work every day to make their chapters successful, but then you also have the corporate side, the headquarters up here, that's fighting on Capitol Hill. A uniformed personnel can't go on Capitol Hill and fight for what they think is right, or what they think their benefits should look like, or to not take away medical benefits. Well, you have that voice on Capitol Hill fighting that message and fighting to send that through so that they are heard.
Anyone who is interested in national security and supporting our soldiers. Of course, we have active Guard and Reserve, retirees, civilians, family members. There are no restrictions on joining Association of the United States Army at all. If you want to help America's Army, this is the place you need to be.
In 2013, the calendar year, they've spent over $1.5 million in support of soldiers and families. And that goes towards scholarships, it goes towards supporting some of the things that the Army can't do, like providing support, flowers, or even refreshments at retirement ceremonies to retirees, or welcome home ceremonies, and some of the things that the Army, because of its financial constraints, can't do anymore.
We started the Small Business Pavilion last year, and we had 40 companies that participated with us. This year we have over 80. And so it's really been a highlight for the show.
The sad part is how do you reach the millions of veterans that are out there to give them all the education pieces? And even if you can't give all the education pieces, to let them know where to go to find some of those. So whether it's their VA home loan product from Veterans United Home Loans, or whether it's their medical needs, this is a under one roof kind of mentality where they can come and get a lot of that information, and it opens their eyes to the fact that I may not need a home loan, but wait a minute, there's more benefits that I didn't even realize. So it opens up the doors being here for so many of the veterans.
Hi there, we are pleased to have with us here today the 11th, the 12th, and 13th Sergeants Major of the U.S. Army. Thank you so much for being here. Bob Hall, good to see you.
It's our pleasure, thanks.
Jack Tilley, good to see you.
Good to see you, Hua.
Ken Preston, good to see you as well.
Yeah, thanks very much.
We're going to talk about a variety of things, and so appreciate you sharing your time here with us. But let's start with the restructure of the Army and how you feel it will affect the military. Bob Hall, let's start with you.
I mean, if you're sitting at 450,000 soldiers and you're looking at drawing down, what missions go away? What hot spots in the world, what bad guys in the world are all of a sudden going to turn around and be good guys, so that soldiers, you can't take fewer soldiers, send them to the same number or more number of places. It just doesn't work.
I think what I worry about is really readiness.
If the Army does go to $420,000, I worry about the readiness and whether or not we're fully prepared to deploy. But and I also worry about the fact now, because there's a lot of talk about ISIS and all the stuff that's going on. I think that's a threat that we have to deal with either now or later. But more than anything else, I worry about the effects of families of the drawdown and all the people that have to get out of the service just a little bit earlier before they was really prepared to get out of the service.
I think that there's many people out there that don't understand the structure of the Army, and they see it about numbers. And active duty Army going from 570 to 440, 450, they say, what's the big deal? But really, when you look at the Army, there's the structure that's in there, and it's essentially 1/3 combat arms, 1/3 combat support, 1/3 combat service support. So the smaller that you draw the force down, really the less tooth there is, as well as the less tail. And I worry about, as SMA Hall and SMA Tilley said, really is the defense of our nation and what we're able to do. And I think it's important for everybody out there really to understand the structure of the Army, that within those numbers, there's things in there that we provide to the nation. The Army Corps of Engineers that runs all the locks and dams on the Mississippi is part of those numbers. You look at the logistics that we resupply for all the services, and whether it's the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, when they are inland and they're based inward, we are the ground support component for all those services. So I worry about us being able to do all those missions and at the same time provide for the defense of the nation.
I think the big thing about that is that the threat hasn't went away. The threat's still there. In fact, the threat's even got worse here lately. So,
with regard to the budget affecting the Army, a secretary used two words yesterday, and Jack touched on it. He used readiness and welfare. The readiness of the Army, the welfare of our people. The budget is going to significantly impact that. I mean, how does it not? I mean, you talk Guard and Reserve, it's all budget driven. You've already had some states that couldn't do training until the end of fiscal year. The Guard and Reserve has done everything we could possibly ask them to do. They've done everything the Army asked. They've done everything the country could ask. And now all of a sudden their budget gets cut. They can't do the training. Therefore readiness goes down. Therefore re-enlistment goes down. I mean, you enlist a soldier, but you re-enlist a family. So as the budget drops down, the welfare of the family, all the programs that are family programs now, if they're cut, how supportive will those families be of their soldier?
In fact, we've relied on the Guard Reserve through this entire war. If we had to do it just by the Army, we couldn't have got it done. And the effects of the families in the Guard and Reserve are a little bit different than the effects of the families that are on active duty. So training is a big aspect there. Just having training, the quality equipment they need. I'm with Bob when he says I've been to a couple places where they had to just start cutting things that they weren't able to do because they didn't have the money to do it. So I'm certainly very concerned about the Guard and Reserve.
The 13th Sergeant Major of the Army, Ken Preston.
No, and everything they said is exactly true.
I was going to say ditto.
Yeah, ditto. I mean, but really, it's when you start cutting the budget, it creates an air of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Uncertainty, and there's just a sense of uneasiness now for young soldiers and their families. Should they stay with this institution and continue to serve, or is it better now for them to leave the military and seek other opportunities?
It's really not about today. It's about 10 years or 20 years down the road. The Army that we grew up in, it took a long time to develop a non-commissioned officer corps and an officer corps, and you got to worry about breaking that development of our officers and non-commissioned officers. And Ken just hit on that. I'm not sure people will necessarily stay as long as they used to stay in the military now, with all these kind of sequestration and budget cuts.
When you look at it from a military leader perspective, from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, they're between a rock and a hard place. Their budgets are being drastically reduced. So it really kind of forces them to look internal where they can get the savings to make sure that they maintain readiness so that the Army is ready to do the mission that the nation needs it to do.
AUSA is the one place, it's the one program, the one unit, the one entity that can bring all the components together that you can truly have a professional development forum. It's informational, it's leadership, it's everybody comes together, and Veterans United is a part of that too. So thanks for all you do and for being here for our soldiers and the family members who are entitled to come here.
Well, The Association of the United States Army is the Army's professional association. And just like many professional careers around the world, they all have their professional educational organizations. And that really is the role of the association, is to provide those educational materials for all of our soldiers. But you know, AUSA is a phenomenal job. I call it, you know, like the SMA Hall said, you know, about bringing people together. I call it the linchpin to really proficiency, and it brings, you know, members of government, it brings members of industry, and it brings soldiers together. And again, you know, with Veterans United and their support here about helping bringing everybody together, I think it's been very important because it's in this collective, collaborative environment that you really get a chance to share ideas and move organizations forward.
I think AUSA is the voice of our military and for military families, and I think that we need to have a stronger association of the United States Army. We need to get as many people as we can, to, like Veterans United, to join in with the Association of the United States Army to make it even bigger and bigger and bigger, because you know and I know in this city it's all about numbers. You know, if you had 200,000 members of the Association of the United States Army, look at the impact that you could have on our servicemen.
Before you're going to cut us off, now, I just want to look at the camera. You said look at the one in the middle. If I want to talk to the audience, I want to talk to all the soldiers out there and just tell you thanks. Thanks for your service. Thanks for your sacrifice, and for soldiers and families, because you make this country what it is. And now all of us wear the uniform that we wear today based on your service and sacrifice. And I want to say thanks to all of you.
Gee, you say that so well. I wish I could say it as good as him. I'd just say ditto. I love the Army. I love all the military families, and I thank them for what they continue to do for us.
You know, for our veterans out there and everyone who served, you know, really our military today stands on their shoulders, and it's their sacrifices and contributions that has made all of our military service the greatest military in the world.
Absolutely.
So appreciate you all joining us. Thank you again for your service. Again, SMA Hall, SMA Tilley, and SMA Preston, we so appreciate you joining us. Thank you for everything that you do and for continuing to help keep our Army strong.
Thanks very much.
Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Army strong.
Army strong.
Army strong. Army strong.
Army strong.
Army strong. That's Inside AUSA. I'm Sarah Hill of Veterans United Home Loans from the Walter E. Washington Convention Center in Washington, D.C. Thanks for watching. Thanks for serving. Thanks for serving those who serve.